you were to ask me, I'd say that my greatest accomplishment by far has been having been granted the opportunity to mother this very special, unique little boy named Noah. This is Noah. Derived from the word notch, meaning rest or comfort, Noah has been the catalyst that drove me to discover my most authentic self. Born September 16th, 2021, Noah was conceived without intervention. I had no risk factors. I was 34 years old. Our NIPT was negative. My carrier screening was negative. It was a typically developing pregnancy through the first and second trimester. There were transient ultrasound findings later that were resolved and kind of came and went, and our fate remained a mystery. So at 38 weeks, we decided to transition our care to a tertiary care facility just to prepare us in the event that there were complications. I went in for a scheduled cesarean. It was a typical morning. We did have a 27-month-old at home as well, so childcare for our toddler was arranged. It wasn't a chaotic, spontaneous delivery. We drove into town to deliver, and lying on the OR table for my second scheduled C-section, knowing what to expect, this ominous feeling came over me, and I laid on the table, and I said to my OB, who had me draped, everybody was there ready to go, you know, I think I'm gonna go home. Which I'm sure anybody who knows they love that. I'm gonna wait. I think I'll deliver him when he's ready to come. I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna go home. I'm paralyzed. With 15 people in a room that are teaching on. I'm like, no, I'm good. See ya. Eventually my legs will come back. I'm leaving. And she's like, no, you're just anxious. It's okay. You know, that's just the anxiety. You're gonna feel better. It's okay. You know, trying to reassure me. But it speaks to your intuition, because his initial APGAR was a 4. So he was pretty pale. He was pretty floppy. Anybody who knows kind of what the guidelines should be for is pretty low. And after support, he didn't come above a 7. He was urgently transferred to the NICU at that time. While he was there in the NICU, he got some respiratory support, and an echocardiogram was done the day that he was born, which revealed the presence of 4 benign tumors buried within the tissue of his tiny heart. We were assured none of which were interfering with his circulation, nothing was obstructing, and they were expected to regress. Unbeknownst to us, we'd spend the next 32 days in the NICU, working through feeding challenges, low oxygen, and low muscle tone. 3 weeks into that stay, we got our answer. Our son had not 1 but 2 genetic mutations. He was diagnosed with both Neonatal syndrome and tuberous sclerosis complex. We were told that his symptoms would not improve. He would continue to have feeding challenges, tone issues. And after placing a feeding tube, we could go. After 3.5 weeks of no answers and an unclear future, and unclear, but we were just told Monday you can leave. The 3rd week of October, he came home. He was readmitted into the PICU 13 days later in respiratory failure. Our second outpatient echo later revealed worsening cardiac function and led us to transition our care to genetic cardiology at Children's. Noah's case was presented to the cardiac panel at Boston Children's Hospital. Of 21 cardiologists, no one had ever seen the 2 mutations together. Therefore, again, our fate was unclear. At 15 weeks old, we'd spent 6 of which hospitalized. That was his second admission. 10 days following that second admission, Noah would succumb to the sudden cardiac event that would take his life. And despite losing Noah in the physical sense, I've gained perspective, peace, a fierce, no-nonsense demeanor, allowing me to advocate for those in my grasp. But perhaps the most important thing I've gained is bravery. I have the courage to be me as I am, moving past many of the things that were holding me back in my life, holding me back in my career, holding me back in my relationships. I pursued therapy and learned who I was and why some of the trajectory of the choices that I had made over life had happened. I am able now to find the beauty in the most tumultuous of circumstances and set out each day with gratitude and appreciation of things that I never would have seen before. Much like an ark, Noah has guided me toward places I would have never explored otherwise. And there's just a poem that I'd like to share. So anybody who's had children in the NICU, I exclusively pumped. Every 3 hours, I pumped from the night that he was born until a couple of weeks before he passed away. When you pump at 3 in the morning, when you're silent and your entire house is sleeping, you spend a lot of time in podcasts, on social media, forging connections with people across the world that have had similar circumstances, becoming like supportive to people that you've never met. They say that when you've lost a pregnancy, you've lost a child, you become part of a family that you never wanted to become a part of, right? And you share this relationship with people very differently, and it's difficult to identify or describe unless you've physically been there. And you get so much support from people that you don't even know, right? Beyond that initial acute phase where like a lot of the support from the people around you and the people of your lives steps back, and you really feel like the world keeps turning, but you're kind of at a halt. And one thing that I had come across, probably delirious at 2 o'clock in the morning, was this poem, and I'd like to end what I'm saying with this and share this. I did not write it, but it just resonated with me, and it made sense, and it felt so raw and real and authentic and relatable, and I think sharing this with other people would be so helpful. It's called Holland. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. Welcome to Holland by Emily Pearl Kingsley. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say. What do you mean Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All of my life I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a terrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people you would have never met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy. But after you've been there for a while, and you catch your breath, you look around, and you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, and Holland has tulips. Holland even has Remembrance. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland.
Mm.